In July, Tucker Carlson did this weird paranoid segment about two New York Times journalists who were working on a story that he claimed would lead to him getting doxxed, right? This is like a common accusation by people in positions of power when they know something negative is about to be published about them, or when something's about to be published about them and they're just paranoid freaks like Tucker Carlson is. And so he was never doxxed by New York Times reporters, ever. But in doing that segment, what he essentially did was draw all of this negative attention toward New York Times journalists who were then the target of people who were threatening them in their own homes, or at least trying to break into their homes. One of those journalists is Tristan, and I don't want to say his name wrong, Tristan Spinsky, and let me give you the details of what happened. So Carlson said on Fox News, so how would Murray Carpenter, that was one of the reporters, and his photographer, Tristan Spinsky, feel if we told you where they live, if we put pictures of their homes on air? Now, again, the New York Times, these reporters, they never did anything like that. But this is what Tucker Carlson said in the segment, and his fans did take this seriously. And now we have some transcripts of the 911 call that Spinsky and his family members, did when they were targeted by Tucker Carlson's fans. So this was reported by Eric Whipple in the Washington Post, and he writes that the 911 transcript adds contour to the story as it depicts the victims of Carlson's dangerous speculation, trying to make sense of a sudden spurt of hostility at their doorstep on an otherwise quiet summer night. The call arrived at the Lincoln County facility at 9:57 p.m., just about an hour after Carlson's segment. Now, Spinsky, his wife, and his brother-in-law were in his home when these Carlson fans showed up. And it's not like they were just protesting outside of his house. They were trying to get into his house based on what we know through the 911 transcript. So the transcript read that Tristan Spinsky said the following: there's definitely people on our property. We can feel our house when someone is trying to get into it downstairs. It was significant. They went upstairs and locked the door for safety and called 911. As for Spinsky himself, he has stepped back from his work since his unexpected mention on Tucker Carlson tonight. He surely won't be participating in any project on Carlson. He said, quote, "I'm apolitical in my work, and this has politicized my role in some ways. I can't photog a story that I'm part of, if that makes sense." So, he believes there's a conflict of interest there, but I really think at the heart of his decision to no longer do this story or whatever he was working on is Tucker Carlson's threats, really.
Okay, so here comes nuance and clarity. So first of all, I don't think Tucker Carlson is making it up in terms of New York Times thinking about a story. Likely they reached out to him for comment before they were going to run a story, and that's how he knows about it, or he knows somebody at the paper, etc. Now, do we know what the story was about? No. Do we think that they were gonna dox him? No. Preposterous. The New York Times was not going to dox him. Could it be a story about, who knows, make it up, like taxes about his house, so they were gonna tangentially mention his house? Or maybe the story had something to do with his house. I don't know, but that doesn't mean they're gonna dox you. That's not what the New York Times does. That's what fascists like Tucker Carlson does. So they purposely target you to try to intimidate you. And what makes me absolutely sick to my stomach is that it worked. He got a bunch of goons, and it's called stochastic terrorism. What it is I say something, and if someone happens to act on it, and that guy happens to get hurt, well, I didn't direct Bob to do it. Now, but if you're Tucker Carlson, you know you have crazed right-winger fans who can't wait to do violence on your behalf. All you have to do is unleash them. So you give the guys names, they're gonna find their houses. It's super easy to find houses. And they're gonna go there and they're gonna literally rattle their cage. And then Spinsky, I mean, look, I empathize with him because he's scared for his life, but no, backing out of the story is how fascists win. I mean, I don't know if the New York Times is what kind of story they were planning. They haven't run anything yet. If they were planning on running this story and they got intimidated by Tucker Carlson, they're the world's worst cowards. I'm talking about the editors. Run the goddamn story, whatever it was. Now, I want to be super clear, whether you're right wing or left wing, Do not go to people's houses. And this is not just the right wing. The right wing is more prone to violence, but the left wing does sometimes go to people's houses. I'm done with it. Look, guys, somebody's gonna get really hurt. It's not a good idea. It's a terrible idea. Stop going to people's houses.
Yeah, I just want to go back to what you mentioned about Spinsky and how he shouldn't give up on this story based on what Tucker Carlson's doing. It's hard. I mean, I know from personal experience, right? I mean, I had something very similar happen. I believe it was in 2008, based on a nonsense story that we covered that upset, this crazy right-wing mob. And it's not just that you fear for your life, right? It's that your family is angry at you because they feel that you're putting their lives in jeopardy. And honestly, that's the worst part. So I'm just giving that perspective as well, because Spinsky might be like me, where it's like, no, I'm defiant. I'm gonna keep going. I'm gonna keep doing my thing. But I remember when I was going through it, the worst part about it was one of my parents turned to me and looked at me and said, "You just don't know how to shut your mouth." But I don't blame them because they were scared. It was the middle of the night, and that made me feel like the worst person on the planet. So I just want to give that perspective as well.
Yeah, I know. Look, I'm not blaming Spinsky, and this is how fascists work. They try to turn your family against you by threatening them. But if we get intimidated by them, then we're never gonna get out of this mess that we're in. And this is how countries lose themselves. It's really scary stuff, guys. If you've never experienced it, you have no idea, what taking these guys on is like. And so, but we've got to be strong. We just have, especially, I'm not asking for it, but look, there's two different things here. One is the New York Times. If I was the New York Times, again, I don't know any of it. They might print it tomorrow, okay? But if someone threatened my reporters that way, I'd be like, oh, great, game on. Then I'm not gonna do just that story. I'm gonna do 10 stories on you. I'm gonna dig up everything there is in the world on you, Tucker Carlson, and I'm gonna shove it down your throat. We're not gonna dox you. We're not gonna send people over. We're not gonna bring in thugs. We're not right wingers, but we're gonna look at facts. And if you've done nothing wrong, great, then you've done nothing wrong. But to be intimidated by fascists is unacceptable. Guys, this is kind of like the story about how Donald Trump says we might redo the election. If you haven't experienced it, you're not getting how severe it is. They do this to people all the time, and the right wing believes in violence, and so it's super scary stuff, and we're in the middle of it, and honestly, most of the time it doesn't affect the establishment at all, so they're oblivious to it, couldn't care less, and the band plays on. I'm not joking, man. There's 2.5 months left, and if Trump gets reelected, it's gonna be a super ugly world in this country. And that actually scares me. The fact that Biden at this point is basically in hiding scares me. We've got to win this election. We have got to win this election. So let's hope for the best. Want to win a free electric scooter? Well, our partners at Aspiration and Zoom Electric are making it possible. All you have to do is head to tyt.com/greensummer for your chance to win.